Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our panelists and our moderator and participants. We are going to start our session number 5, which is Disruptive Technologies in the Distribution Sector, Successful Use Cases Relevant for India. So, for this session, we have our experts to share their insights on disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, blockchain applications, and much more. With that, I would like to welcome our moderator and panelists for this very interesting session. We have our moderator, Ms. Reena Suri, Executive Director, India Smart Grid Forum. She brings over 20 years of experience in the energy sector. She is responsible for the research projects, advisory services, business development, training and capacity building programs, customer outreach activities, members relations, and finances of ISGF. Welcome, ma'am. Joining the panel discussion, we have Mr. Vinod Tiwari, Global Head of Business Development and Sales Power Ledger. Vinod has over 25 years of experience in operations, developing strategic partnerships, new markets for providing leadership in senior sales and business development roles within the renewable energy and other engineering industries. Welcome, sir. We have Mr. Sumit Gupta, CEO, Asset Plus Consulting. Sir brings in over 20 years of industry experience spanning over domain of energy and utility. Sir has been a solution evangelist for smart grid, renewable energy, and power management in past. Within power renewable sector, oil and gas, water, infra, Sumit has created offering addressing the core areas. Welcome, sir. We have Dr. Ashutosh Natraj, founder and CEO of Vidrona. He has actively been in electrical transmission and distribution sector and renewable energies to understand and solve challenging industrial problems as part of Vidrona team. Welcome, sir. We have Mr. Nilesh Kane, Chief Distribution, Tata Power Company Limited. Mr. Nilesh is having 25 years of dynamic experience in electrical operations and technology ranging from conventional to non-conventional sources of energy, battery energy storage system, reactive power management, and he is a member of ETD 16 Committee of BIS BEE Certified Energy Auditor. Welcome, sir. We have Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey with us, co-founder Being AI Limited, founder Socience AI and Robotics France. Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey is a robotics and AI scientist, speaker, and contributor in multi-annual R&D and I roadmaps and collaborative ecosystem creation, based in France. He has served as the President, Chief Science Officer, and CTO of Hanson Robotics, the creator of among the most expressive humanoid robots, Sophia. Welcome, sir. We have Ms. Tulika Pradhan. Ms. Tulika is a cloud advisor with the AWS India Public Sector Professional Services team with focus on analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning technologies. Ma'am comes with a deep experience of 25 years working in various roles in business and technical sites. She has worked closely with customers across the globe, especially in the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia regions. Welcome, ma'am. So without any further ado, we will start with our session. But before that, may I request all our speakers to... Okay, so we'll be having the group picture after we are done with the panel discussion. And I would like to hand over the stage to our moderator, Ms. Reena Suri, to take the session forward.
Thank you so much, Parul, for that introduction. And with that, I take this opportunity to once again welcome all our speakers, panelists for today's session on disruptive technologies in distribution sector. We'll be taking up the successful use cases which are relevant for India. So the world is undergoing unprecedented challenges and have realized that the reliable supply of electricity round the clock is the lifeline of the society. And we are able to run medical services, telecommunications, and internet services, and keep the financial system and the supply chain functions, because uninterrupted electricity supply is provided by the electric utilities. Smart grid technologies we have seen that have emerged as the key enabler for both integration of distributed and RE sources, which are increasing by the day in this sector, as well as the electric vehicles. And the widespread deployment of these smart grid technologies is very crucial to achieve a more secure, sustainable energy future. While the developed world with reliable 24 by 7 electric supply for several decades are presently struggling to find appropriate technologies and solutions to manage the evolving 21st century grid. We in India need to work on the basics such as the access to electricity, 24 by 7 quality supply, AT&C losses, etc. as well. Although in the power sector we've seen the digital technologies were introduced in the DISCOM through programs like AP DRP, RPDRP, IPDS Uday, and now we have a new scheme being launched, RDSS scheme being launched by the ministry in the last 15 years. The day-to-day functioning of the DISCOMs were still not run on the digital platform. But post-COVID, all DISCOMs have adopted, most of the DISCOMs have adopted solutions for paperless operations in record time. And this again demonstrated the inherent capacity of these organizations to raise to the occasion and take the challenges head on. So these digital technologies will, not only support the overall operation of day-to-day working of the utilities, but also facilitate, better management of or bring about demand-side flexibility that will be economically attractive for both grid operators and customers. Now we must carry this journey forward of which we have learned through these COVID days towards full digitalization and deployment of new technologies and innovative technologies. And we have seen some utilities are ahead of others in deployment of these technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, blockchain applications, utilities, robotic process automation, robotic drones, VR and AR for further optimizing the assets and operations of the utility. Ministry of Power is also working towards this and is fully supporting the digital transformation. ISGF has been working with the eminent organizations, experts on these domains, and to create awareness, empower the utilities with domain knowledge for adoption of these technologies. We have been conducting several workshops, webinars, and we have, in the past 1 year, we have conducted many training programs on these topics, AI, blockchain, and so on and so forth. So we are working hard towards bringing all the stakeholders, creating an ecosystem for the immediate deployment of these technologies. So with that, the objective of this forum again is to look into some of the use cases that are relevant for India, which have been deployed, and what were the challenges, what were the use cases that were taken up, and which can be replicated by the others. We look forward to learning from our eminent panelists from their experiences and the cases they were going to share today, to see what is there for others to learn and quickly adopt and better their operations. So with that, we start today's session. I would like to invite Mr. Vinod Tiwari to please take the stage and present the different use cases that you have been deploying around the world on blockchain platform for trading of energy and grid services. And would like to mention with that, I'm sure Vinod will be talking about it as we presents regarding different use cases of blockchain, that together we have implemented 2 projects in India. One peer-to-peer trading in Uttar Pradesh, and successfully done another one in Delhi with Tata Power. So over to you, Vinod, for your presentation.
Thank you, Reena, and Namaste and good day to everyone from Western Australia. I was about to say from beautiful sunny Perth, but it is not sunny today. It is quite cloudy, and we've had a bit of a sprinkle of shower as well this morning. But lovely to be in the company of ISGF, our partners in India, and all of you delegates present here. So I will just give me a second to start sharing my screen. And Reenaji, if you can give me a quick nod when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen, and you can just put
Yeah.
it on PowerPoint mode.
Yes, I will. Okay, it's full screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So in my discussion today, I will be going through a whole range of use cases that are relevant for Indian context, but also a brief introduction on who we are. And it is almost through our journey, global journey, that I'll be sharing the use cases, and pretty much all the use cases are now very relevant for Indian context. So we are Australian-based, headquartered in Perth, but with global presence. Software company. We describe ourselves as a company that uses blockchain technology to spin up marketplaces. We make software for distributed energy markets. We've been going for 5 years. 2016 is when we started. With one proof of concept. Now we have grown obviously around the world in working with some of the biggest brands around the world, including Kansai Electric Power Company, KEPCO in Japan, American PowerNet in US, Australian electricity market operator here, Curtin University, and of course in India, in our partnership with ISGF, working with Tata Power DDL, as well as UPPCL, having delivered a couple of projects in India already. So the presence has grown over the years from one proof of concept in Western Australia to now in 11 countries. And actually, we've just signed up another project in South Africa as well. So we will be present very soon in every continent. 4 projects in Europe, of course in India, and Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Australia is the home base, Chile, in east and west coast of United States. What we do is we solve the time and the place problem with energy. Both are needed to get 24/7 renewable energy. And I will expand that a bit more, including the use cases that provide the relevance to this statement. So as the world continues to produce large surplus of electricity, many hours before demanding the electricity in the evening, so, typical duck curve problem in many countries where there is already high penetration of variable renewable energy. You see a lot of energy during daytime and not so much renewable energy available during the nighttime. And the draw from the grid increases from 5 p.m. onwards, whereas there is a massive surplus during the daytime intervals. Whilst the energy is becoming cheaper around the world, including in India with more renewable energy, there is a draw on the infrastructure upgrade because a lot of this renewable energy is not necessarily produced where it is required. So as you can see, the countries which have done really well with high penetration of rooftop solar and variable renewable energy in general, Germany, Australia, some other parts of like California in US, you see the cost of electricity hasn't come down because the transmission and distribution infrastructure upgrades meant that additional cost has been smeared across the user base. So energy has come down, but overall electricity supply cost stack has continued to stay high. And that's kind of more visible here as the renewable, and this is from IEA source, as the renewable power investment has increased, so has the investment in electricity networks increased. So whilst this is bringing the prices down, making energy cheaper and cleaner, the overall electricity cost stack with the delivery charges hasn't come down. So what does Power Ledger do in all of this? We believe that the grid's only as good as the markets that sit behind it. And what we enable, therefore, is using blockchain as the core technology. We spin up these marketplaces for starting from traceability of energy, provenance tracking of energy, where it's being produced, who is using it, to enabling sharing, trading, gifting of energy, including peer-to-peer energy trading, enabling grid flexibility services, so creating these local energy markets where the excess is used up in such a way that it actually provides flexibility services to the grid. And also we create marketplaces for efficient buying and selling and trading of renewable energy certificates, RECs, and other environmental attributes. So in a sense, whether it is a multinational or a company that has got RE100 as their target, or they might even be talking about 24/7 carbon-free energy as their ultimate goal, or whether they are a utility or a distribution systems operator or transmission company, or they could be apartment complexes, gated communities, which are looking for solutions. PowerLedger creates a whole range of applications, from local energy markets to flexibility trading platform services to enabling of renewable energy certificates and power purchase agreements on our exchange-based platform for enabling a market-based mechanism that brings the cost of energy down, that empowers the consumers to share, trade, gift energy. Prosumers can benefit with better return on investment. Consumers can get cheaper, cleaner energy. So that's we in a way affect the energy trilemma, making energy cheaper, cleaner, and energy system more resilient through our software solutions. And obviously, we all know that a new energy paradigm is already starting to emerge. Depending on where you are in the world, you probably start to see more of move away from centralized grid to almost hybrid grid, where consumers have become prosumers. Where we sit here in Australia, 1 in 3 houses have rooftop solar. So 1/3 of households are mini power stations themselves. So there is excess energy available that they can share, trade. Same with commercial industrial sector as well. Lots of these businesses have rooftop solar. They have their own power, which also generates excess during various time intervals. So enabling these kind of solar swap or sharing, trading of energy is as part of the overall ecosystem of energy markets that is starting to emerge. So in the next few slides, I'm going to talk about specific relevant cases which are relevant for Indian context. And I've almost sort of tuned them in such a way that they all also talk about our global journey as well, and our global journey of democratization of power for sustainable future. Because that's what we stand for. So we create, so if you look at the overall electricity markets, you typically have the wholesale energy and ancillary services as potentially the top of the pyramid as a wholesale electricity market or a centralized market service, including ancillary services. At the bottom of the layer, you have the consumers, the buildings, the campuses, sites with maybe their own rooftop solar in some cases. Ability to respond to demand response, or they may have energy storage that could be aggregated and be acting as virtual power plant to offer services back to the wholesale market for energy arbitrage or for ancillary services for frequency response, etc. So that's the typical structure. So what we are actually opening up is other 2 layers, layers 2 and 3, local energy market for peer-to-peer energy trading in a way that supports the grid resiliency, but also for distribution networks, DNOs or DNSPs, distribution network systems providers, or in some cases utilities in India, DISCOMs do all of those things. So where the infrastructure starts to have congestion or voltage imbalances or reactive power management issues, enabling a market-based mechanism for them to procure those flexibility services. And in doing so, we reduce the typical issues with duck curve. And I mentioned, when there is massive amount of renewable energy production and not enough load. There is a lot of export back to the grid that causes all these imbalances. So we reduce the duck curve issue, reduce the belly of the duck as well as the neck of the duck, flatten both those. And we do it, this is a system architecture. I won't go into the detail, but creating intraday market, day ahead market, or even week ahead or month ahead market by taking inputs from DNSP's or DISCOM's ADMS systems that looks at the forecast of congestion, create those flexible marketplaces where individual peer-to-peer energy trading markets start to not only support prosumer and consumer, but also participate in supporting the resiliency back to the grid as well. So we've done a whole range of, we now have presence in 12 countries, as I mentioned. Very proud to have been associated with ISGF in India in our projects. One of the projects is with TPDDL in Delhi itself, where more than 150 prosumers and consumers took part over a 9-month pilot that is just about finished. And we demonstrated how peer-to-peer energy trading could actually benefit the communities, the prosumers with higher return on their investment on renewable assets, consumers buying cheaper, cleaner energy, but the DISCOM being able to charge wheeling fee and also benefit through these resiliency services from sharing trading of energy downstream to substation, downstream to feeder to deal with their congestion problems, as well as voltage or reactive power management issues. We demonstrated new ways in Uttar Pradesh for UPPCL with a demonstration project in live project in Lucknow. Again, peer-to-peer trading concept where you don't have to always rely on net metering or subsidy-based system to incentivize acceleration of rooftop solar. This market-based mechanism where prosumers are empowered to share, trade their excess energy can be a tool in itself to accelerate the deployment of rooftop solar. And whilst India is doing really well with large deployment of renewable energy, large solar, large wind type of projects, it hasn't really been able to meet its targets in the distributed generation part. So our platform and solutions provide these relevant use cases for peer-to-peer energy trading in India. And I'll probably also add here that both in UP and in TPDDL project, what we have demonstrated that for businesses as well, corporates who are looking at alternative ways to procure renewable energy, peer-to-peer opens up a new dimension. They don't have to necessarily rely on green tariff from their DISCOM or virtual power purchase agreement for renewable energy to meet their RE100 type of obligation. They can also participate or work with community members who may have rooftop solar to supply them excess energy. So creating sort of new avenues for corporates as well as a clear use case. This project actually in the middle of Bangkok city called T77 also demonstrates the local energy market. And this is one of the biggest and oldest peer-to-peer energy trading project globally. World Economic Forum advertised it heavily as well. There are multiple sites. Initially, there were 6, but they've added more sites as well. International school, dental hospital, shopping center. Each of them have rooftop solar. And a third party actually owns that rooftop solar. So they supply energy to these buildings under PPA agreement. When they have excess that they're not using themselves, they can share and trade and actually monetize their excess energy. So another use case that blockchain can do the tracking of PPAs. It can do instantaneous settlement of these power purchase agreements between the counterparties. Also empower prosumers to trade their excess with other community members or other buildings. I just mentioned about creating this sharing economy, going beyond power purchase agreements to also help support the grid, reduce congestion in the local grid, and also reduce the average electricity cost for the community itself. Beyond that, at microgrid level, this is a huge project, again in Thailand, Chiang Mai University. They have about 160 buildings, and out of those, 142 buildings have rooftop solar. So we are creating within that campus this peer-to-peer energy trading as well as carbon management. So you utilizing blockchain as a tool for provenance tracking of energy, how much is coming at each interval from grid and how much from their own generation. So that enables them to sort of deal with their own carbon objectives. They want to be 50% carbon neutral in the next few years. So providing them the visibility and management of all the energy services through our platform. About 10 megawatts already live. There's also a 1.2 megawatt hour battery in the campus that will be charged using this renewable energy or excess renewable energy, which will then be used by electric vehicles for charging. So the vehicle owners can claim that their vehicles were actually charged by green energy. And not only that claim is a hearsay claim, it is actually backed by an audit trail on the blockchain platform as well. As well as that battery will serve as a VPP solution for the grid itself. In California, in city of Santa Clara that owns this utility called Silicon Valley Power, we created a low carbon fuel standards program, which is designed to reduce carbon from transportation sector. So we did a project with them that demonstrated, firstly, automated their low carbon fuel standard credit issuance process and a reporting process to the regulator, which is Clean Air Resources Board, but also provided price signals to the EV owners when there was excess renewable energy in the system. That was the best time for them to charge instead of charging at 7 p.m. when the grid is already under stress. So, contributed, and this is again a kind of use case as India ramps up the use of electric vehicles, providing this price signal based mechanism and also providing an audit trail for these kind of services that can be used by EV infrastructure owners as well as EV owners themselves. In Australia, we created another example of how rooftop solar excess energy can actually be used for creating brand loyalty. The biggest brewery in Australia, Carlton United Brewery, also has target RE100 target. So they have some virtual power purchase agreements for renewable energy. They also buy some green energy from their retailer. But they came to us saying that, can you create on your platform a consumer-based engagement? So we enabled hundreds of rooftop solar owners to sell their excess energy.
Hi, Vinod. We're running a bit late on time.
All right, I'll wrap it up pretty quickly. So creating a brand engagement. Yeah, I'll wrap it up quickly. Again, another use case where blockchain platform can be used as a brand engagement tool for creating excess energy as a currency, and that can be traded with other commodities. For renewable energy certificate trading as well, we have projects in the United States where we're launching a commercial application in partnership with Midwest Renewable Energy Tracking System for creating a blockchain-enabled marketplace for buying and selling of RECs. Again, very, very relevant for Indian context. And just lastly, for any green energy supplier, any DISCOMs, you can actually offer a solution to your customer base using our platform feature called Vision, where consumers can be empowered to choose the energy mix. And many of the DISCOMs already have that variable renewable energy coming in the system, some solar, some hydro, some wind. They can offer that choice to consumers and provide that empowerment to consumer for the type of renewable and the place of the renewable that they want to support. So I suppose there are mega trends emerging around 24/7 carbon-free energy, where again blockchain becomes a huge benefit in providing the visibility of the portfolio as well as solutions to the stakeholders. So with that, I will pause and wrap up my presentation. Thank you very much, and sorry for running over time a little bit.
No problem. Thank you so much, Vinod, for this wonderful presentation and covering full gamut of various variety of projects that you are undertaking around the world for blockchain technology. So we'll come back to you with some questions in the end, and would like to move on to our next panelist, Ms. Tulika Pradhan. She will be presenting disruptive technology and innovations for utilities, and will be talking about the AWS applications for modernization. So over to you, Tulika.
Thank you, Reena. Thanks a lot. I'm really happy to be here as part of the forum, as well as with such an eminent list of panelists. I would just like to share my screen. Reena, if you can confirm that it is visible.
Yes,
is
it's
my
visible.
Screen visible?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I am going to talk about the disruptive technologies and innovation and what is the potential for the distribution utilities. And we'll look at cloud as one of the technologies which is there for us to use. So utilities, as we understand, are challenged with the 3 Ds, which is decentralization, decarbonization, and digitization. Each of these has a substantial impact on the operations technology of the utility. The management of the distribution grid with high levels of distribution energy resources, which is DERs, is one of the central issues confronting the utilities. The existing distribution was designed around the concept that only a handful of generation resources will be there and they will be supplying to a number of uncontrollable loads. However, the actual requirements have changed from this assumption in the following ways. So one, there is multiple sources of generators spread across the distribution grid. Some are well controlled, like backup generators, while some of them are intermittent, like the solar panels. We also see that consumers are willing to participate in load control actions in exchange for a lower carbon future and potential in energy savings. And this is going a bit futuristic, especially in India. There is a reduction in battery cost, which has resulted in meaningful levels of electricity storage, which can add as a load or a generator. In some areas, we will start to see a new source of variability because of electric cars, which will due to which the load on a house can be completely doubled. Now, given this challenge, utilities need a new set of tools. The data is increasing, and to manage the technical, operational, and the economic ramifications of the high penetration of the interconnected DERs. Now, key within this tool set is the need to provide situational awareness and to account for and mitigate the impact of the DERs on grid reliability. Now, furthermore, these tools must be able to capture the economic values of DERs for the distribution and bulk power system and for the retail customers. So this is what we believe are the 3 Ds. Now, cloud is something which is there's a lot of pressure on the utilities to reduce the cost. Now, innovation life cycles based on the traditional way of development is something that the life cycle of doing an innovation in procurement was a months of procurement to do any kind of an experimentation. What has happened with the cloud is that the agility to procure has increased. So what took days and months to plan and to procure now takes days and hours to plan and procure. Because of this, the ability to innovate has increased as we don't have to really procure a lot of hardware in a permanent way. So we don't have to worry about infrastructure that has to be kept on and on for years. We can take something for experimentation. The risk-taking ability of any distribution utility is much higher because of this ability to do experimentation. So these are very significant advantages coming and really disruptive by making use of cloud. And this we have seen with we've helped some of our customers in the Indian utility space use cloud in a very effective way. Now, there are 4 functional areas of the the utility space that we have seen in distribution companies. Just open this. Sorry. Yeah. So the first one is the network operations. And this is about keeping the generation time and the uptime. This includes monitoring of assets and possibly also managing the field teams. Now, services exist on the cloud today, which can help do streaming analytics on IoT data. And also there are pre-configured models based on computer vision, which can detect fault by looking at the picture of the equipment and also to predict failures. Then there is the area of consumer services on customer data, meter data, the billing and revenue management. And there are analytical components which can do processing of this data in real time, near real time, and in batch. And there's a great option of doing visualization as well. Then there are other IT solutions, for example, the ERP, the HR systems, and there are on the cloud, of course, infrastructure components, compute, storage, which also have additional features. For example, to scale up, there will be auto scaling groups which can be utilized for improved maintenance. The fourth category of functional area is the market operations like demand and supply, power procurement, capacity planning going ahead. And this actually builds on the analytical layer. And there are sophisticated modeling and dynamic parameter tuning, which can be done using machine learning technologies. Building an enterprise data lake is a first step in the direction of taking raw data into valuable information. Typically in a distribution entity, there are multiple applications. We know about the billing, we know customer care, there is energy management, audit, revenue management, fraud management. And the data is coming from different kind of systems. For example, raw data coming from the meters, from SCADA systems, GIS, and several others. And the format of these systems are completely different. Some may be images, some may be readable ASCII formats. There can be proprietary formats. We can be reading from database connections or APIs which are exposed and available. And they're coming at different frequencies. So we will have the regular data like billing coming in probably at a monthly frequency. Then there may be meter data coming at a 15-minute, 30-minute kind of frequency. There may also be data which is coming on a triggered event. For example, if something goes down or the temperature goes beyond a particular threshold, there may be a triggered alarm coming. So we have different frequencies, different formats, and there are also devices in the whole network which are available for a two-way configuration. So one can send control commands to it. And this allows us to set up the control systems like a NOC or an energy operation center, which can maintain all of this. Now, all of this data comes into the enterprise data lake, and from there, it can be taken to a very well-defined data warehouse, and analytics runs on the same. And this can be then used to define machine learning models, which can take the data to be used in a far more intelligent way. So this becomes the base of the data, getting data from all the systems into the data lake. And some of the use cases that we believe have been done globally with our help and with partners and the distribution companies, and also in India, is a very basic one is to do billing based on the data coming from the system. And also to validate this billing through revenue assurance modules. There is management of assets and improvement of faults, increasing the life cycle of the assets. That is another use case which can be taken care of. A very significant problem that we've seen in India is power theft. Now, prediction of power theft is a very important use case, which we've seen, which can be taken up. There is also to forecast the load on all the meters given along a given circuit, to estimate the net load for each circuit. and then use this information for the purpose of safety for the employees and the field users, as well as generation planning. Digital twin is a very important concept. With all the data which is there, a digital twin can be made, and this enables the overall training of the workforce and monitoring in a far more effective way. The report of an outage of what the customer is facing versus what is the actual outage versus reported outage. These are the use cases. And also using the momentary outage alarms from the meters on a given circuit to detect significant vegetation interaction. Now, these are new use cases which we have seen can be very relevant in the Indian geography. There is also customer and the other consumer data which is there. So consumers are giving feedback not only through direct channels but also other social media channels. So increasing the customer satisfaction by understanding this feedback coming from these other systems and correlating it along with the data which is probably from the customer care and billing. There is an option of doing forecasting of the meters given throughout the circuit and the load and flexibility on that circuit as part of the DER planning. Analysis of power at each part of the network can be done and to determine the direct and the indirect losses on the network. We've also seen interesting use cases which are relevant for payment analysis to find out likely defaulters. So predicting a list of defaulters and taking action before they actually become defaulters. And in the process, reducing the overall defaulted payment over a given period of time. Forecasting consumers' behavior and the consumer usage pattern across the billing cycle, and giving them usage alerts in terms of if they are likely to be a high bill amount. Some of these features results in higher satisfaction and also reduction in the non-payment. So overall customer behavior analysis is something which can be taken up in a very significant way. So these are some cases that we thought will be relevant. We've also done a few of these cases with Indian utilities. Another one which is not listed here was using blockchain, doing the e-wallet system with one of the largest utilities in India on blockchain. That is another interesting case. So that is all. If there are any questions, I think we have time at the end of the session to talk about those.
Thank you so much, Tulika. We'll surely be coming back to you for questions. We do have some questions coming from our audience for you, so we'll have to hold on till the end. With that, I would like to now invite our next panelist, Mr. Sumit Gupta, and Mr. Gupta will be will be sharing his views on revenue protection and revenue assuring using artificial intelligence and machine learning. Over to you, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you, Reena. Let me just share my screen and let me know if my presentation is up and visible.
Yes, it's visible. Please start.
Am I also audible, right?
Yes.
So thank you. Namaskaram. Welcome. Good morning, good evening to friends all across the globe who have joined in. Thank you, ISGF, for this wonderful opportunity to share my views on this very interesting subject, something which Tulika has touched upon, an area which is very widely been looked upon in the context of India, which is about how to protect my revenue and how to ensure that the revenue comes to me every month. Every utility wants to look at that. And this has been a paradigm problem. And if you look at this is where I will be putting across the perspective which utilities, some of the utilities in India has taken a step forward and participated. And that's where I want to share the outcomes of those work which has been done by the utilities in India. So the paradigm problem, which is about how to enhance the revenue and what we call as a RPRA. And this is something which started way back around 20 years back in India. And with the programs like the whole focus was the customer service and the revenue. These two programs were focused, and around that, the things keep on changing in the last 20 years. If you look around for the change of the meters which we were using from the electromechanical meters in the first phase of APDRP, which happened. And there also put those acronyms, also some illustration of them, so the people who do not have been coming new into the sector might not be knowing the full acronym, what it is stands for. So those I have also put. So this is where our old friends will look around that the transformation of the Indian ecosystem started way back almost 2 decades. A lot of work where, in fact, ISGF Reggie has also worked a lot on that. And subsequently after that, as the meter will change, so the data will keep changing around, so you require the network to also to change, and that's what the RAPDRP focus on, trying to make the network little stronger, the mappings around that, but still the core focus was the customer service and the how to revenue. And if you look around 20 years back, the utilities in India, even in Delhi, when our DISCOMs took over, right, the sector of AT&C losses was somewhere around hovering in 55% somewhere, right? Today, they have done a tremendous job where they brought into a single digit. That's the beauty of the work done in the last 1.5 decades of their working around and changing in the sector what they. And same thing has been done by the state utilities, and very good results have come from those. And subsequently, the government has focused on bringing it down further by introducing IPDS and Uday, which was again focusing on that how we can strengthen the network upwards so that we are able to look at the element of downstream as well upstream enhancement. And then currently, as what Rena has mentioned around, that RDSS has been looked around, revamped digital sector scheme, which is trying to bring the smart meters. And we all know when this mega scheme of smart meters will come into India, this problem which we are trying to talk about will get reduced to a marginal element, right? But today it stands as it is, where we are trying to focus and work around, and the solutions in this directions are welcomed by the utility. Typically, when we look at a part of what are the building block of this augmented RPRA, what we look at. See, as a part of, when you look at the network, right from the part of energy which is being sent out to the way the handshake happens between the transmission and to the city level grid, which got about at the 66 kV level. Down below, after that, to the level of the SCADA network is able to monitor. But the moment it comes from the DT and down to the consumer level, and typically around the consumers, which are the domestic consumers, which make the large chunk, that is where the whole analysis or the whole problem of reconciliation of the energy audit is a question mark. The dynamic energy audit is question mark, because that is only to be done on the subsequent some level of consumers who are on AMR or who are on an MRI, on whom we are able to take their data down on a quicker basis. But then the larger chunk are being left around on the basis of doing a element of what we call as the billing reconciliation. Then the second perspective, very important, is the customer segment analysis. How and what way are we doing it in a kind of isolation, or we're trying to do it part of those customer analysis in a wider perspective, and getting in that these customers, what the behaviors they expect, what kind of latency they maintain, and what is happening where. This becomes very important to understand about the customers and whom to be taken up for the next level of upgradation, whether they are trying to have the demand, what they've been sanctioned load, they're consuming more than that. We're not able to know unless until the month end we get a bill as a part of it, or as a part of a consumption reading. And the very important element, that pertinent problem, comes around the pilferage points. So the pilferage points to identify in this network, which is going around right from the part of our where we have a meter level of energy which has been measured, to the part of where we do not have how the energy has flown it, and to the next level is where the energy has been consumed, to that level where a certain approximation happens. So how to find out pilferage points? And this has been a grappling problem from ages. That's where we thought of how to bring in the beautiful era of technology, which is AI and machine learning, and how to actually make it solve this problem for this. So the problem statement, which revolves around the dynamic energy reconciliation, which everybody wants to look at from the ring, which is 11 kV ring, which we are trying to follow the part of low LT network, and to establish a last mile customer into relation that, and to find out networks where the losses are high and operation optimization can happen. That means finding out which are my stress network, so that I can look, okay, this is my stress network on this particular distribution network, and those then I can look further for finding out who are the pilferage points. So ideally, if you're looking at this scenario where the energy flow is metered at the substation to the DT, but subsequently down below feeder pillars and the or the part of poles and to the customers, we only get to know from the customers is a part of the billing information, what we have billed. We do not know how the other energy has moved unless until we do some kind of audit or a program, we build some devices to on a yearly basis to measure what is the network energy. And as I was mentioning around industrial customer, we have the information, but for the domestic customers, there are almost no information. And typically the reconciliation of energy is based on what DT has given the energy in the network to the part of consumer been billed. And further, if the consumer has made the payment, then we get to know, okay, what is the net energy which has been actually realized, and we try to do that plot. And it takes almost about a month and a half to get a report coming on. There has to be a lot of approximation happens. So this is where the pain area everybody has, at least in the Indian context, certainly, where the utilities having a diversified customer base, adoption of various types of meter. Outside India, certainly would be, but today we are focused more on the part of solving the problems and in the home than to focus on the outside. So we say the charity begins from the home first. So that's what the whole idea of doing something for the Make in India perspective and derive it. So the approach which was being followed, friends, are typically completely an AI and machine learning driven approaches. And I'll start over here from right to left, right? So the last mile consumers, which we do not know the pole they have been mapped to, and these poles are mapped to the feeder, and feeder will map to the DTs and then to substation. But these networks are very dynamic in nature, and they also have a backfit. It looks very simple over here on my diagram. It is very complex. If you ask any network engineer, you say this is so simple, Sumit put. And this is where I'm trying to come across. And on the top of it, for the customers, we do not know whether he has been attached to the right pole or not, which is the nearest one, because our lineman tries to play all those kind of tricks to change them where it's as per their comfort. So the first element which has been done, and this has been done on part of to look at how the customer monthly data which you have apportioned to the daily and calendar month basis. That's the first level. And on that, you do a historical perspective to know about 6 years, 7 years data, how this consumer every day, every month on season would have behaved. So trying to get some kind of approximation level, and then the learning behaviors. That's a learning approach. You may call it the machine which tries to learn this over a period of time. But this is what a learning approach is being adopted first to get the customer. And this customer is then mapped to the part of the pole. And that way, trying to map to the pole perspective, you have to look at an AI aspect. And under the AI, we're into text modeling, which is being used because in India context, the addresses where the people have been maintained are so weirdly written. If somebody says in front of the school, or some say behind the tree, or some say behind the drain, right? So you cannot know where the house is there coming in. And if those relations have been established, you are able to get that right poles have been mapped to the right consumer. And that particular thing solves the problem to at least 30%. That you're able to get to know at least from the pole to the consumer. And my dear friend, when talking about this, this has been actually been done in Indian context for a daily based utility, which has been done. And then from the pole to my feeder and to DT, but these are all where dynamic relations happening is because we have a backfit feeder and we have a backfit DTs which have been there to look at the part of the power given supply side when there is a part of power off. So there itself, the network modeling is being used as a part of process and advanced in approaches. And a synergized approach of almost 5-6 years of data have been looked around to analyze under what conditions the energy flow in the network has been, and to what level and which feeder and which DT the network has been connected. So it is very, very complex and very advanced use of the model. But today, this has been established, my dear friend. This has been established and this gets validated. This gets validated further to the part of the verification network happen to the level of what is my customer to poll data by means of my event profiling. You are able to verify that established test network which you are able to get. And second, the part of my load survey which you are trying to look around, dynamic. So my event profiling data, if they're there on the load network profiling, they try to map it, and end results, what you're trying to get is dynamically the gap at these points which I'm trying to mention over here. And this gap, they improve the period of time. It's not that in one time becomes static. They improves and they try to learn on its own. The way we try to see things and try to improve the same kind of things. The what is happening, this model which has been built around is tries to look at what is the gap of energy you're finding from the part of billing as you're trying to look around the billing, the energy supply from DT to whatever is the consumer downstream which has been built and they are being looked at. So that gap, and then you look at a part of model outcome to verify that whether this is actually coming close. And this is what is the net outcome which has been reflected out called a stress network, mind you. The stress network is, this is where you are looking at a comparison. Now look at the top. It is showing the energy which is there on a the consumers which have been linked to a DT. And if you look at this, and this particular plot has been derived out based on a part of the network model thing which has been done for a consumer. And this has been done since because there is no smart meters and you're looking at part of the monthly data. So this has been done on a monthly basis, but the level of granularity has gone through. You can see that from the 7 o'clock onwards, there's a network gap happened to the evening 8 o'clock. So our champions in the utility very well know, we say 1 to 4, that means distribution network. So the part of 33 kV, 66 kV, 33 kV to 11 kV, the networks, the losses, technical losses stands for. So beyond that is something where the pilfer is happening, the commercial is happening. And over here, you're able to find out which are those stress network. And those stress network, if you identify it, your 90% of your task is being reduced because then you're only focusing on finding the pilferage point in those network. So my dear friend, first element on the part of RP and RA look at is finding out the stress network, and that stress network information has been put around, is compared and been analyzed as a part of what the billing information has been there. And this is a tool which has been carved out further when you have done the first level of the network mapping. The second thing comes on going on analyzing the pilferage point, getting the suspected customers as an output. And in that, there are two approaches. One is the consumption-based approaches, other is the event-based, because many utilities in India, they do not take complete dump of the data which many of the utilities take in India, like the event data, and you have the information of all the parameters. Some utilities only take the part of consumptions at certain levels, part of it. So you have a consumption-driven model to the part of event-driven model, and with a combination of model. And those data points have been looked upon as a part of unified manner to give these outcomes. And certain utilities, as I mentioned, in Delhi and Delhi NCR, in Mumbai and Gujarat, they are being on the aspect of analyzing this for the network and using it to define as what I'm trying to explain it today, my dear friends. So this is the solution which has been carved out with the mentorship of ISGF and been built around to tackle the current problem on hand, and which get resolved as we move on to part of the smart energy and smart metering platform. So how does it work? So we have analytical. So first was a part of knowing the stress network. On the stress network, then we are looking at the second level. And as
Sorry, we are out of time, so please wrap up.
Yeah,
Request you to wrap up.
so as
Thank you.
Tulika mentioned, there is a high level of data movement. We have got images, complaints, and text and video coming up. And there's also an IoT data and streaming data. And that's where the analysis goes on to the multi-level aspect. And a very defined framework is being developed to look at the fraud where it's happening, where you're dynamically looking at the fraud levels and looking at those rules. And those rules are enriching themselves and feeding onto the element of the dashboard. We get this information out, which I was just showing there. And furthermore, gets to the level of building it. This is a platform which has been built. This is a platform which has been built and used by the utilities so as to get what I was just mentioning around, because bringing those systems, and it works like this, where you have the files which have been coming from the various databases. They have been dynamically being taken in through the APIs somewhere part of the integration with the source-based databases. And then the initial level of heuristic modeling to the level of advanced modeling run that. And the pilferage points have been identified by the various aspect friends, which is running on part of looking at the where they are on the right side to know which are being the comparative neighborhood aspect, to the part of their load profile, to the energy consumption, to the level of consumer behaviors, which are the denting part, year on analysis, technical parameters, and then you go on to the meter image modeling furthermore. So unstructured element, we're looking at the part of not only the data which is impacting on the consumption part, but also on the part of the payment data, which is surround data, and the environment data where the meter is. So looking at that, this comprehensively builds up the model. And those models, one of the things I have just shown over here, this is way the model tries to perform, and the outcomes have been drilled down on who are the pilferage points. So what is the key takeaway over here? That's where I'll just wind up. The key takeaway of this entire RPRA, the solution, it is giving you energy accountability and reliability in the network from right from the substation to the customer with energy gap dynamic reports, that's one point. The second, you are able to get to know which are my stress network and where I have to put focus on only to look at the pilferage points. And then for the pilferage point, depending on what data they are provided by the utility they have, it is the models are they've been built, plug and play mechanism to give you those outcomes, and which you can look around as a level of how you build up a revenue protection dynamic framework for your enterprise. So we try to adopt it for a larger organization. A data lake perspective can be used. And then this entire information as a revenue assurance perspective use variety of data which is available in the network, in the utilities environment. And this whole data which is present over there is being looked upon so as to derive an data-driven transformation to give the utility the value of what we call as a the element which is the more of the revenue-driven organization with the customer satisfaction at the forefront part of it. So thank you for giving this approach to present our offering. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sumit. That was a wonderful presentation, very comprehensive about all the solutions that are available and the use cases which utilities can take up and use the technology to better their operations. So going forward, I'll come back to you with questions. And also, panelists, I would like to mention that the questions that are coming from the audience, I'm posting them on your chat. So please keep your eyes open for that, and so that you can be prepared to answer them in the end. So thank you. With that, we move on to our next panelist, Mr. Nilesh Kani. He'll be presenting on various applications that from the utility side that they have been working on or are available for as disruptive technologies for the distribution sector. So over to you, Mr. Kani.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just uploading my presentation.
Yes, please. Can you use the share button at the bottom?
So good afternoon, and thank you ISGF, for opportunity on behalf of Tata Power, to present, the various application of artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation in power distribution. So this is the first case, what we are using in Mumbai, that is the NLP based machine learning model for eCare. eCare is, the customer care center where, we are using. Here what we are doing, the intelligence what built, on the data over a period of 5 years time, we have collected the historical data through our SAP CRM. And we are trying to use that through the AI/ML model, especially for the emails. So around monthly, we are getting 5,000 emails. So how intelligently, how we can response time can be reduced by that. So the 5,000 emails has been very intelligently been taken into the different buckets and been distributed to the different operator, and appropriately, the responses have been given. And this has given clearly a competitive advantages to, so Tata Power. And during the COVID time, especially when there are around 7 to 8 times more email complaints were arrived in our CRM every day, it was only with the help of AI/ML NLP based model we have managed them very efficiently, and all these made were auto segregated and made it possible for us to reply consumers in bulk. So this was one of very successful AI/ML application what we have used in Tata Power Mumbai.
Wow.
Excuse me, 1 minute.
Wow.
Mr. Khan, you're not audible.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Another one thing what we have done, that is the sentiment analysis, using the big data analysis for the customers. Especially we are getting a lot of responses from all the customers, especially from the verbatim emotions, what we are receiving through the platforms like, the social media and all. So what all these things, what we are collecting in our SAP ERM, and we are doing the big data analytics, and we are very successfully identifying the negative mentions about the business or the services, what we are getting social media platforms, especially spotting the agri consumers on the verge of staring in social media crisis, and now identifying positive users. Many times consumers come forward and appreciate that. So we are also identifying that how many customers are giving the positive feedback and, more likely to become a brand ambassador in time to come. So each and every comment or each and every feedback from the customers, what we are getting, we are analyzing each and every rating submitted by the consumers under PDF, that is the post-transactional feedback, what subsequent to the questions and giving results. So that not only saves the time and efforts, because the process is sentiment extraction will be fully automated. So what we are trying to extract, what are the positive sentiments and what are the negative sentiments, and on what processes, especially right from technical things, right from meter management, right from billing. So for the various application, how the customer is giving their feedback. So post-transactional feedback analysis, what we are doing, and we are trying to get, the positive as well as negative as well as the neutral feedback. So that is the best thing. We are saving the time, and big data analytics is one, the platform on which we are doing this successfully. You could see, the percentage of positive, negative, and the neutral feedbacks what we have got, and even, the rating given by the customer for each and every actions. So the sentiment analysis, using the big data analytics for customers' feedback through the various platforms, we are the first utility in India to use that in Mumbai. That is, the AI/ML based NLP having the customer sentiment value we are capturing. And this is using artificial intelligence, the natural language processing, the knowledge representation techniques, and the machine learning what we are using. There is a single dynamic dashboard is there for the customer sentiments. The customer sentiments are not only, the captured for the various, technical complaints, commercial complaints, or all other services, value-added services given by the Tata Power, and that is very dynamic. That is area-wise also, because we are working across the Mumbai area. So in which area, we are lagging, what are the challenges, and why the customers are giving their negative sentiment. So this is really a very good feedback model, and by this big data analytics, we are in a position over a period of time to improve, the sentiments of the customers and the feedback. So these are, a few things, and the process in the analysis. The calls what we are receiving at the call center, we are converting speech to text analysis, such that all the text data, right from the social media, right from, the emails received, and right from the calls, has been converted into the CRM, and then voice of customer and the PTF complaints, social media, including the WhatsApp chats, have been analyzed and appropriately been taken care of for their feedbacks from the customer. So this is one more application of the big data analytics that we have successfully used for improving our services in Mumbai. This is, a dynamic dashboard. This is typically a dashboard of a day in which we have received, the 319 complaints which are positive, and out of that 296 are the positive, and 4.6% is the mean, 87.40. So we are getting all the data, how many are positive, how many are negative, how many are neutral, how many are resolved, how many are more concerns, and when and which bucket they are supposed to be transferred for getting attended appropriately. So a very detailed process is there based on that dashboard for taking corrective action over a period of time. Call volume prediction at a call center, because we have seen that during the COVID time, suddenly call volume has increased, and because of the lockdown, we were, got a trouble, to getting the people in the call center and getting that attended, and sometimes we faced a very tough time. So based on the data analytics, the call volume prediction is one more, the initiative what we have taken over a period of time. The predictive model which tries to predict, the caller patterns, by using, the descriptive analysis and time series forecasting. And there are many inputs has been considered based on sometimes on weather, sometimes festival seasons and weathers, and a particular month of an year, or the previous year data, previous 3 years data, and all. So based on the various inputs, we generally predict, the call volumes at the call center, and appropriately the people has been provided. So compared to the manual accuracy, a daily automated predictive algorithm delivered around 83 to 85% accuracy. And the prediction is enhanced to identify and exclude, the impact due to the rare events, through the day-wise and shift-wise. So this has also improved, the efficiency and giving the responses to the customer. So a call volume prediction is another big data analysis application what we have used in Mumbai. SMRD, for the business of power distribution, is a smart meter reading and dispatch application we have successfully used. This is a GPS based. We have captured, the meter data, capturing the status of the data, whether it is a manual, AMR, Wi-Fi devices, etc. So right from the metering, billing, bill distribution, the status of the bill distribution. So everything is on the line, and through the SMRD, we get, not only could do it very effectively and we could save the time, but the accuracy, which was below 90% in the manual intervention, has increased more than 97%. And that includes, the spot billing, spot collection, providing guidance to the field staff through the Google map. You could see that in every, the person who is doing that has been given, the tabs, and on the tabs, they could see the GPS data and the Google map. And we could also understand where exactly the people are going, how, what is the efficiency of spot billing, spot collection, bill reading, meter reading, and all. So providing various services to the supervisor through the web application is one of the outcome of using this SMRD. And you could see this is the picture where exactly the people are, in zone, what is the live counter, how many meter readings has been done, how many bill distribution has been done, in which area it is lagging, in which area it is, has been completed, and also a very dynamic performance of that particular application has been also been seen. And that will also show on Google Map what is the optimum route, how frequently you can go. So all these applications are also included in that. So SMRD, the smart meter reading and dispatch application, has not only saved the cost but also has improved the performance. Wi-Fi based mobile application process flow is another application where we have used technology intervention, especially in the multi-story buildings in Mumbai. We have used the Wi-Fi devices and multiple Wi-Fi devices connected to the meter. We could get all the readings, in a single go through the mobile app through the Wi-Fi, and we could do very effectively and efficiently, very quickly data collection, and then the meter reading can be done in the record time, and this has helped us to the real-time billing and the timely meter reading, meter print, the bill printing, and bill distribution. So another one application we have started using what we call the MARC, what's mobile assisted GIS for restoration and care. Generally, the consumer, are expecting the applications, like a modern e-commerce cab aggregated like an Ola, or, for the food chain. So they have, the real time, they show that when your delivery is happening, when the person has taken your parcel and when it's reaching to your house and all. So in the similar line, Tata Power in partnership for adopting the technologies developed this application in which all our vehicles who are attending the LD complaints have GPS and where exactly the person is, and whenever we are receiving, the complaint for the no current, immediately that has been forwarded to the concerned, the team which is working on the field, and how that team is moving, that also can be very easily been visible. So this you could see that the GIS based, the MARC application, the deployment of automated descriptive statistical theory, and deployment of the runtime repeat complaint analysis, and you could see the picture. So here SMS is being sent to the customer showing the location of the technician who is scheduled for the restoration services and by what time your no current complaint is getting restored. The customers on the service rendered revolving power failure complaints, and then customer is also giving a feedback. So just like the other services what customers are the getting like Swiggy and all, there also same application is also being provided to the customers in Mumbai, such that they will get that within how much time the complaint is likely to be resolved, and what is their feedback on the services and all. And you could see, because of no manual intervention is there, the customer complaint resolution time has been reduced. You could see from this graph that these are the typical complaints, so the count of the complaints of the day. The average time from 33 minutes has been reduced to 18 minutes. And, the customer is also getting all real-time information about his complaint. So this is also very successfully been implemented and customer received very well. This is, IoT-enabled monitoring system for the non-automated and manned remote substation, for the reliability improvement, and especially important and costly equipments like transformers. So various sensors have been used, and on a LoRa platform, all these equipments have been communicating, and a real-time operation of this all equipment, especially for the non-communicating to the substations which are not covered under distribution automation. And this is a typical IoT-enabled monitoring system for the unmanned remote substation for the reliability improvement. So you could see that the greens are the automated, and for the illustration purpose, you could see that how exactly the person is getting identified, where exactly the fault is through the LoRa-based communication, and then accordingly our crew, which is available in the field, is getting information, and that has been attended appropriately. The live dashboard for the different CSS, there is the customer substations in various zones, and what is the status of the different equipment. You could see that what is the FPI indication status, what is the breaker status, what is the distribution transformer status. And in the distribution transformer, we are getting inputs like the oil temperature indicator, winding temperature indicator, oil levels, etc. And for the breakers, we are getting some status like SF6 low and all. So all these inputs have been taken, and you will get real-time information of all these substations through this. So this is one more initiative has been taken and is also working successfully. So these initiatives have very helped us to improve. Restoration time has been reduced by 20 to 40%. Selfie side and KID has also improved over a period of time. Movement of the vehicles has reduced, and reducing the carbon footprint and the customer delight, obviously, especially in the remote areas, and faster restoration, and the loss of business. Voice assistant switchgear operator. This is the safety initiative what we have taken, in which the voice-based inputs have been given before the operation by the the operator at the field, and this has worked very well for avoiding the accidents in the field. The deployment of a robotic process automation is one initiative what we have taken without.
Sorry to interrupt. We are running out of time, so please.
Yeah, give me 1 minute. I will complete. Yeah. So a robotic process automation that we have implemented for the various process. I'm just quickly taking it. So the task bot creation has been taken in RPA bots, auto login, take the system, takes the report, and process that, especially for the metering, meter reading and billing, as well as the revenue loss identification and appropriate action. So for this 3-4 application, the robotic process automation, what we have used very effectively, and its efficiency has increased for 85% to 89%. And these are a few pictures of the task bot, how it is effectively working for the consumer basic in about 7.5 lakh. And the last one, there is the AR, VR and the robot application. What we are doing, we are started using the thermal inspection of 11 kV substations through the drones for the overhead system. And these are a few pictures by using the drone, how we are capturing the temperatures of the switch gears and then the corrective action. Training and evaluation we are successfully doing by virtual reality, and especially for the safety training, what we are doing, working at height, lockout, tag out, electrical safety, and the mobile crane safety there we are using, especially for the new engineers, we are giving them the training in our training centers, and augmented reality also, how exactly before actually working on the field, they are getting through the augmented reality and virtual reality, the training at that. So these are also applications we are successfully using for our training. So these are, the few slides so far as the application, the technology and power distribution is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kane. That wonderfully explained what all good initiatives Tata Power has been undertaking in this field. And I believe there's a lot to learn for other utilities from these initiatives. I hope they will be able to take it up and see, on the basis. So going forward, we'll keep questions for you posted for till the end. And so for now, I would like to invite our next panelist, Mr. Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey, and he'll be talking about AI and robotics for utilities, and the role of robotics, AI, and IoT for distribution utilities. Some of the successful case studies relevant for India will be taken up by Dr. Pandey. So over to you, Dr. Pandey, for your presentation.
Okay, and now let me try the screen. Okay. So I hope now it is visible, right? Okay.
Yes, it's visible. Thank you.
Okay, so just feel free to interrupt me whenever I am passing the time, but I will try to be quick.
I'll surely do that.
Yeah, so that helps also. So hello everyone, and thanks again for this nice opportunity where I will be just providing a global overview about what are the different applications or potential applications which we can think about when we are talking about robots and artificial intelligence and some other technologies. And it was really great to see how the emerging technologies are being used in various aspects in utilities from within India. And it was very useful and interesting even for me to listen to our speakers before me. So I will be not covering in detail everything, and there will be also some overlap what we have heard just in our previous talks. But I will just try to give a global picture from the context also where we are working on a white paper on utilities using robots and AI. So it will be from that context as well. to highlight some of the interesting potential applications and the need of the ecosystem. So once we are seeing the technology ecosystem, we can think about again the body, mind, and sensors of that ecosystem. And robots can be seen as the body, which are capable of acting and interacting in the environment. And then we have IoT and other smart sensors, which are capable of sensing, at least for making better situation assessment and the prediction. And then we have AI, which can be seen as the mind of the whole technology ecosystem, which is having, or which should be capable of having, some decision making and planning capabilities, and then also informing or having the right kind of communication with other modules or even with human. So once we combine all these, we can see a bigger picture where we have capabilities to work physically or act physically, to sense the environment as well as to make decision. And that's how we can see more impactful solutions which will be emerging or which are already emerging, because this new era of technology is really bringing various components together. So as I mentioned, AI, robots, IoTs, devices, they are already there. But then the abilities to handle big data and blockchain infrastructure, AR, VR, drone, and the computer vision, and then the communication among machines. Those are the technologies which are really coming together, and those are creating the bigger solution, which has big roles in the ecosystem. They are able to reduce human workload, even supplement our abilities, and obviously reducing our safety risk and dangers. And why not to see where we can, they can also reduce the error, which might be human error or a combination of many other factors. So, and again, on terms of efficiency side, they can really perform in a real-time manner, help in cost optimization. They are able to handle large amount of data, and that's very interesting. They means the combination of technologies, and then making the better sense by finding hidden and useful patterns, so that situation can be even predicted in advance. And then there are the components which are already interactive, having more information. They will be able to perceive environment better and act intelligently, as I mentioned. Another interesting thing is remote sensing and monitoring. The combination of technology can be used to achieve that, and a more connected world will be there, and which is already happening. And interesting thing is that they can also handle routine tasks, such solutions, which will allow us, the people, to focus more on the critical aspects of the task, as well as even finding some more creative solutions, and be even more creative. So that's what I wanted to simply give a glimpse, that there is a very interesting and useful and positive side of the combination of technology, which we should be seeing as an opportunity to utilize and to find useful and potential solutions. So just before this talk, I think we had seen very interesting idea that how AR and VR can be used for training, and especially in the context of India, where many locations are at different distances. We can really utilize such combination of technology to enable staffs to virtually visit a substation, or move around virtually, or even practice and interact in the environment from a remote place. And there have been cases where return of investment have been in 2 years, simply by reducing the driving time and resources of the staffs to go to the real location. And obviously different kind of cases and many other variations of the situations can be better presented and modeled in the virtual environment to give the 360 view of what all can happen and training to the staff. And smart sensors are also becoming very useful. So they are becoming a kind of backbone of reliable and responsive distributed grid. And why it is happening so? Because they are becoming diverse. So there are specific sensors which can be created for specific needs. They are becoming smaller in size and they are also capable of being connected with the rest of the ecosystem and communicating with the system. They are becoming less expensive and more robust, accurate, and they are also getting mass deployed. So with all these, I think we have already seen how sensors are getting like helping in the end-to-end ecosystem of distributed grid, and so they can also help in reducing the interruption duration and as well as the like better maintenance and hence improving the lifespan of transformer as well. Okay, so drones and AI. So there are many applications of drone, and we have again seen one which was very interesting, that how the thermal imaging and other technology can be used with drone to have better idea about the situation and the environment. And drones, once they are combining with the digital twin technology and some aspects of AI, they can better help in maintenance, optimize, or even have some predictive measures. So I will simply point about one of those, which is on like trees or vegetation management around the power lines. And so with having a digital twin and then with drones capturing the environment in real time and updating the digital twin, and then some AI techniques, we can have faster and more reliable situation awareness about what is happening, and then also having better risk zone identification. And we can develop predictive models. We can inspect virtually a location, and it will be also making things safer for the human. And there have been some again comparison that how it can be less expensive in long run compared to some other means of having inspection and management. Okay, so then now we started with the software side, sensor side, drone, and now moving towards robots, which can be also very much useful in lots of application, like cleaning and maintenance for pipeline or solar panel, because they can produce, like they can have high cleaning efficiency. They are available most of the time, and they can reach different locations. And with right kind of solution, the cost can be also optimized, and better precision can be achieved, and again the safety risk to the human can be reduced as well. And we can think about bigger robots which are capable of moving around in the environment, which can even facilitate remote monitoring and inspection in different and difficult places. They can also be used for delivery of tools, and they can be available at the remote place so that the access can be also faster. And they are, overall they can help in predictive maintenance and maintaining the good health of the ecosystem. There are also suspension robots which can be used for transmission line inspection, and there are different efforts which are happening in different parts of the world, and including India as well. There are scanning robots which can be used to detect some faults in different components which are being built, and as well as for maintenance of the components which are part of this bigger grid ecosystem. And we can also, why not use robots to manipulate remotely? Like operator is sitting somewhere, and then we have a robot manipulator which is either completely teleoperated or semi-teleoperated manner. In semi-teleoperated manner, is able to inspect and maintain different components again of the ecosystem. And I will perhaps try to show a part of the video. There you can see that remote operator is able to use this robot manipulator and then trying to perform some task and operation in potentially dangerous areas as well. Okay, so those were basically on the application sides of, I just simply try to give some idea about sensors, IoT, AI, and robots, that how they are and they can play different roles. But security is also very important because now the whole system is becoming less centralized, and that's also a concern that how different levels of security, including cyber security, can be achieved. And there are different initiatives in different part of the world which can be helpful. And I think in India also we have interesting initiatives in cyber security and including AI. And there are different sectors which can be identified, like security management control, or even physical security, or reporting of incident, and then what is the plan of response or recovery. So there are different guidelines and efforts which are happening in this domain. And I am simply putting some pointers here to give the idea that it's a very important and a very key thing, because power grids are really vital for societal functioning, and we have to make sure that it is up and it is secure. So for this, and for making any combination of technology to be more sustainable and really useful beyond a proof of concept deployment, we have to consider the bigger ecosystem, and that includes all the aspects, including security, which I mentioned, then safety, and then the consideration of liability, insurance, evaluation and benchmarking of the solution, and how a collaborative ecosystem can be created with different stakeholders, and what are the regulations, the funding mechanism as well, and then obviously the social, legal, ethical aspects. And since there is data, not only in the flow of energy, but flow of data as well, so privacy and transparency is equally important. And the idea is that with all these efforts, the combined efforts and combined technology, we should be aiming for creating a smarter and safer utility ecosystem which has proven reduce risk factors for human, better efficiency, facilitating to work remotely, and being more predictable. And why not to address some of the environmental issues with whatever solution we are always trying to think and figure out. So these are some of the pointers. Different efforts are also going for further reading. And as I mentioned, we are also working on a white paper using robotics and AI for utilities. So that will be coming soon. So stay tuned for, stay connected for that with us. So with this, I will stop here. And thanks again for your time and patience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pandey. That was right on time. And thank you for this wonderful presentation talking about how AI can, robotics can support different operations of the utility, including cybersecurity. So with that, we'll come back to you with questions, and I'll be posing them on chat for you. And before that, we will move on to our last panelist for today's session, Mr. Ashutosh Natraj from Vidrona to present on AI-based predictive perspective and analytics for the Indian utilities. So over to you, Mr. Natraj.
Hi, Arena. Thank you so much, and the ISGF team and the delegates who are joining today at the DUM 2021. So let me start my sharing the presentation. Please confirm if you're able to see the slides. Right. Can you see this slide, Rina, if you can just confirm?
Yes, it's visible. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, and a very warm afternoon to you all in India. And today, as we are here to present on the topic, and thanks to Dr. Pandey, who actually just touched the base, which gives in a real interest for us, because that's the base on which we start to go on the next, the use of AI-based predictive prescriptive analytics in the utility sector. And I'm Dr. Ashutosh Natraj, and I'm the CEO at Vidrona Limited UK. And what I will just go through very quickly is that what Vidrona is, to give you a very quick understanding. So Vidrona, we are a AI-based predictive prescriptive analytics company for the utilities. We started from the Oxford University and then later supported by the European Space Agency to bring in the space tech solutions as well as the high-tech solutions into the power industry sector to ensure that the operations and maintenance activity, etc., become much easier and faster. Now, our product is a software-based analytical platform that we've been telling, and which we are telling the customers to understand that why AI it becomes very interesting for the utility aspect. Now, I'm talking very generic rather than as just a product part of it. So let's start first with a very quick glimpse and understanding that how it's been utilized into the sector in the real scenario. So here you're going to see the video glimpse of the utilization of AI on the any sort of data that has been collected, as Dr. Pandey also mentioned earlier. It could be from the satellites, helicopters, drones, or even the line connected data. So please have a look in this video first, and then I will continue with this thing. So this is our execution of AI into the utility sector to give you the real understanding. So this was just to give you the glimpse in terms of what we already have executed in the Indian context with the Indian utilities. And these are the benefits that how we are engaging with the usage of AI in real terms. So now, before I go further on, I would also try to give you that not only AI on the data that has been captured using different platforms is utilized for the predictive maintenance so that you can plan in advance in future what needs to be done, but also it helps along with the other technologies in terms of AI with the augmented reality to help the maintenance crew and engineers to start fixing them. So here in this particular other video that I'm going to show is that how it is helping the maintenance engineers to actually The AI helps to identify and isolate the fault, but also now AI will tell them how, where, and what needs to be done. So you see in this video that the moment the device that already the engineer takes in, so you can see that initially there is no you notice that there's no fuse that has been identified by the AI. Automatically this fuse then goes and lands into this particular point to help guide that, okay, this is what they need to fix it. So it becomes much easier for them to understand what needs to be fixed and where it needs to be fixed. So it becomes more interactive for everybody. So this is just to ask you all, as most utility companies are joining, and it'll be quite useful if you can also give questions or your general understanding that in your maintenance, are you currently using manual based repair and maintenance, or you actually deploy some other form of maintenance? Because this also is very interesting to understand two part of it. The inspection and maintenance is done in-house, or is it actually outsourced? So that will give a very rich understanding. And I'll ask this question why I'm asking this, so that we can interconnect during the presentation. So this was just to give you the glimpse of the action, like AI in real application and usage. Now, going ahead to the next part, before we start to jump into more detail, we need to understand why utilities are in need of AI. Now, the journey is that either the utilities take the step now to the AI, or they take it after, like, the 1 year. But eventually, everybody has to embark on that journey now, because there is no way otherwise to escape from that. And this is where it becomes the need for the utilities all across the globe, because the utilities all across the globe are highly regulated, and they are more under pressure because of changes of the regulatory demands. And also that makes that all the utilities have to provide uninterrupted reliable electrical supply to the customers, but at yet a cheaper rate. So this is a very big challenge for the utilities, and hence this is where it becomes that embarking on the AI makes it a very big interesting part. Now, the utility business is mainly about ensuring the electricity generated, be it a renewable energy or be it any form of energy that has been generated, it needs to be evacuated from the generation source to the end consumer region. So to make that is the transmission and distribution is the main part of the job. So maintaining these assets is very crucial, because not only these assets all across the world have become aged and they are old, but also there is change in climatic condition, like global warming, etc., has triggered more weather storms, etc., that impact on these assets. So there are more faults that are started to happen now as compared to earlier times. So this is becoming a combined effect of the old assets plus these weather conditions, which demands that more quickly and faster things have to be repaired. Now, let's understand this in terms from the O&M aspect now. Why? Because firstly, these are the blue points that you see. These are the concerns. And then we are going to the pain points that are in the light teal color. And then we are reading about the understanding the impact. So if we take the first concern, that is health and safety issue. Now, this health and safety issue is quite critical, because if there is a small fault or even a critical fault and that does not get fixed instantly, what will happen? It will cause health and safety issue for their own employees, but also to the consumers. In cases that we hear very often that there have been people got electrocuted and died, and etc. What is the impact? The CEOs or the top management are summoned by the police, and the court cases for negligence start to happen. That's a very serious concern. As you can see that lately all across the globe, the regulations have become very strict, and very often we have seen several utilities actually been forced to shut down because of the heavy penalties that they were imposed. Like an example, in California, the same law now is coming into play in India as the Electricity Act that is coming to be ruled soon. So these things become very important. Now, other important thing is about being speed. So speed is very important part of it, because what we need to understand is that from the time that the inspection is done and the maintenance is carried out, there's a huge gap between that. And if we do not understand that where what needs to be repaired, there is no optimization in the entire scenario. Sorry, can you hear me? It's just, I think there was for a second the...
We hear you, but we can't see your presentation.
Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, sorry, somehow it just logged me out for a second. So I was there that, where it becomes important part of it, because the repair and maintenance has to be optimized. And because if it is taking more time, we end up using more money is lost in the repair and optimization. Another problem is that not only speed is important is to do it with higher precision and accuracy. Now, a lot of data that is collected, it involves that humans have to go through all this entire data. Now, that is prone to human error, and it makes the entire process inefficient, slow, and ineffective in terms of maintenance, because many of assets become under-maintained or over-maintained. Then is the decision how to decide once the fault has been isolated. Does it require the critical versus the priority? Which fault have to be prioritized? When should be fixed? So the critical faults get missed. And when in this process, when critical faults are missed, it causes an unreliable network, or sometimes over maintained a few assets while missing out on the critical ones. So this is a common utility challenge across the globe. The next is the decision on the repair. Now, one we have done is the how to decide which one have to be repaired first, based on the fact that which is higher priority, when should we repair it, where should the repair be done, what and how it needs to be repaired. These are critical questions that come to all utilities before even they go for a budget planning, because now once they understand that these are the faults and these are the severity, then they have to plan a budget. Now, budgets are fixed. Budget will not keep increasing. The pot is always fixed. Now the regulator will get an approval thing that for this quarter you have, let's say, 1 crore or 2 crore, whatever the amount. So 1 crore you have to use to do further repair. Now, if you do not have enough time and to understand the entire faults in your network, what will happen is that whenever the fault comes, we go and repair it. And that becomes a reactive system. And that's where what happens is that the budget is overspent on some of the assets. And we, most of the time, this is a common challenge that utilities come and say that, oh, we actually have finished our budget and we still have to go for an unscheduled or unplanned outages. Now, when that comes, the regulators also come back and say that, yeah, I mean, how many times can you have the unplanned outages? These becomes a very major concern as well. Plus, it impacts the utilities' profitability. The consumers get affected because they don't have a reliable electric supply. So this is where it becomes that other challenge. Now, the other problem is that the quality assurance on the repair. Now, when the repair is being done, be it your own in-house team, or be it from the outsourced contractors. Now, we cannot go and verify the type of the job, quality of the job that has been carried out. Now, every person will have a different experience level as a human experience level. So they are prone to be doing differently, and they will eventually come to that point. So this all ends up to say that why a need for AI becomes so important to the utilities. So let's go to the understanding one step back into the whole scenario. Now, as you saw the several examples Dr. Pandey also gave in his presentation. So utilities started to take refuge by using drones, helicopters, and other robotic platforms to start collecting data to make the operations and maintenance faster. Now, what did it lead to? Eventually, it led to one thing, that yes, these are just a platform. They are collecting data, but they are not giving any intelligence out of it. So they end up collecting huge amount of data. Now, that huge amount of data says that, okay, what do we do with that data? Engineers already, the utility companies are already loaded with so much of different other responsibilities. On top of everything, now the latest thing is that all the utilities have another further more amount of data to look into to identify the faults, etc. So instead of making it faster, it actually ended up making it even slower, inefficient, and it started to add more human error into the entire process. So now the question comes that from the collected data, does it provide intelligence? Does it give predictive analytics? Does it tell what is going to go wrong? Where is it and how does it need to be fixed? And does it even tell that when will it happen? So this is where it becomes a major challenge. Now, on the right hand side, I've just given you a sample of the drone operators that they provide some of the reports to the utilities. So they take the images and they start to just give some references, and pretty much they say like, just giving like, severity or low, and then everything says like, okay, okay, okay. Now, when this ends up coming, it does not give anything about what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. it doesn't give the entire aspect, because it has only added more responsibility on the utilities, because now the regulator, the new regulatory act, which also is following up across the globe, is that the utilities are responsible to ensure that whatever data they have taken and action has been taken or not, because now there is an evidence as well for the collected data. So now relying on a drone operator for the decision on what needs to be repaired becomes a very big challenge. Plus the lack of the, industry expertise that is there. Then the other challenge is that it is involved with human error. Now, eventually, all this thing happens that the drone operators, etc., they end up looking into the data as a human. Now, this is where we start to go into the next phase of it to understand: are we now with the collected data? Are we good enough? Can we actually afford to wait for 6 months? Now, why I'm saying 6 months? Because the time the data is captured to the time the final maintenance is completed, the repair and maintenance, it's a typical cycle of 167 days. Now, in that 167 days, a small fault which was ignored, and in the 6 months, it can lead to a catastrophic damage, including the asset failure. So you can see that a very small fault has made it such a huge thing. So this is where it becomes, we need an AI, and an AI platform that can make sure that the entire platform is reliable to ensure the ease of process of the entire or reliable operations of the ONM, the operations and maintenance. So this is where we show that how the usage of AI now, usage of AI will make the not only the AI but machine learning and big data all together. So this is where we are showing that how Vidrona's AI platform vSense is enabling utilities to make the benefit out of it, because the huge amount of data that is being collected, as you see that the number of images that are being collected, they're huge. If you go strict looking into it, it's quite difficult to go on, plus the human error. So now the platform makes a predictive analytics. It gives the with that, it tells, isolates the fault. It also then segregates based on the severity. It also then highlights an actionable item, what needs to be done. Then it gives an overall visualization with a accuracy of 99.8% accuracy, with the information now to tell what needs to be done, where it needs to be done, how it needs to be done. So now just doing faster and with accuracy is not going to help there, because the utility business is to make sure that the quick decisions have to be made, that the O&M have to be optimized, it has to be efficient and cost effective. So, and also what again the other speakers also mentioned, that the data flow is there, it needs to be transparent between all the departments, because it's not just the maintenance team, because there are other stakeholders involved in the entire process. So that entire platform now AI is pulling into the information to tell when it needs to be done, and it is in future the fault that is going to happen up to 6 months in advance. So it's well enough advance time to give. Now the win that is very important is that it helps now using the vSense platform, customers have already benefited of 3.5 times the return on investment, and this is where it starts to become very, very interesting part of it. So this is where I just give a very quick glimpse that how data has been come in different formats. It could be
Sorry, Dr. Natraj, we are out of time, so please wrap up so that we have some time for questions.
Sure, definitely. So when it comes to this particular part of it, and I will just go into giving the glimpse of understanding how AI is actually benefiting over the human. So now you can see that if you see the utility customers, everybody will agree on this, that when you see the sag, human eye can only see from 20 degree and onwards of sag. Whereas the here, as you see here in this example, the AI already predicts each and every single component by component analysis to tell that where the sag is even to 3 degrees or 1 degrees of deviation. So it helps to preempt in advance 6 months that what needs to be repaired and fixed, or looking for the dampers, etc. So ensuring the quality of where it is, what is the health status of the damper is. So how long can you actually extend the asset life so that you do not need to unnecessarily go and maintain. You can go ahead to look into very important aspect. When you see, like, there is a example here, as you see the flashing of the insulator disc. Now if there is something that is there, now it is also telling, if you see it, the AI also tells what is the health score of it, and it also tells that it can last for another, like, for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. That all grading gets into the play, and that is where the benefit comes to the utility customers that have been seen. Now distribution companies also not only have the challenges of just the high voltages that they have to bring into their grid, then from grid they step down and then end up going into the HVDS system. So here you can see then again AI starts to help to identify the isolate faults, etc., in telling you where this particular interjunction failure is happening, where you see that here earthing is actually failing from the transformer. It tells that okay, when this particular loose nut and bolt is happening, it also tells that okay, it can last for another 45 days. So meaning that it's already prioritized, it has been set into your work order to say that okay, within 45 days this needs to be fixed, otherwise there will be an earthing failure that can cause to further severity issues. Here you can also see in this example where the DD fuse, for example, which is missing. Now, when
Dr. Nachraj, we need to close now, so please wrap up. Apologies for this.
Sure. No, that's fine. That's okay. So this is the things that just the examples that pretty much as you saw in the video as well, I was giving you that how AI first isolates to find out where the missing thing is, and then the AR helps to tell what needs to be done and where it needs to be done. And similarly, it is just to give you that in cases that severe faults, for example, like they have the guide just etc., which is rusted and broken. It tells that okay, within this, it's already, you can see here the entire insulator string is just hanging just based on a little bit of life left off, because the entire this part has rusted and has broken and fallen off. So now the insulator string can fall, it will cause the interruption of the line, and it will actually cause to in more losses to the company. Or here you can see that even the AI starts to pick up on the fact, because it's not about just to give that where the missing fault is, but it also gives the advantage that yes, with the benefit what the customer gets is that the precision with accuracy of 99.8% they get to save more than 50% in savings in their operation maintenance cost. It and makes the entire process 7 times faster. And this all is being done by the machine learning and AI algorithms that we have developed and have been circulating for more than 105 different types of fault analytics, giving the return on investment of more than 3.3%. And just to give you that, okay, these technologies have now started to be adopted in India itself. And as we have last year partnered with the utilities in India and ISGF, we actually were awarded for the same thing. Also, I would be saying that the Diamond Award that we got. But also important is the global market player. If you want to see that how rapidly the demand for the AI platforms have started to go much faster in the operation and maintenance to take the benefit out of it. But and thank you so much. But if any questions you have, please feel free to ask, and we can just address there. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nachraj. I know there was a lot you wanted to share, but due to positive time, we could not give you more time. But that was a wonderful presentation, and there's a lot of innovation you're bringing for the utilities, which are very useful, and I'm sure the utilities will be making use of that, with the solutions that you're bringing. So. With that, we come to the end of the session, and big thank you to all our panelists for being here with us today and sharing their insights and expertise and experience with us and our delegates. And I'm sure, it'll be all the experience shared by you with our participants will be very useful, and utilities will make use of all the innovations that you are bringing for the sector. And we will be sharing your connects with them, and if further questions, they will be coming back to you directly.